Hello everybody, Rocket here, bringing you a video covering the question what is Elder Scrolls Online? Trying to provide the necessary information to help you decide whether it could be a fun game for you as well. What you see here is beta footage from April 2013, and you might see there are no mob spawning here. Well, yeah, it was sometimes a little bit buggy, but still fun to play. Actually, I would suggest you don't pay too much attention to the visuals, for I just picked some footage to talk to you about what the Elder Scrolls Online is. And we might start with what it is not. If you are looking for the next sequel in the Elder Scrolls series, then no, that is not the game you're looking for, because Bethesda already does another single-player Elder Scrolls title. So the next game is in preparation, but this thing here is definitely a multiplayer online roleplay game. So is there any Elder Scrolls feeling in the game? Yes, it definitely looks like the Elder Scrolls and parts of it actually feel like the Elder Scrolls, but also you really feel that it is not a single player game. So if you want that feeling of becoming the one Nerevar which frees Morrowind from the ashes which come down off Red Mountain, or you want to become the one Dragonborn that actually, I don't know, won't happen in this game. It is an epic story, but there can't be just this one hero, because it is a multiplayer game. But the leveling, on the other hand, is quite like other Elder Scrolls games, because it was designed as mostly being a single player experience. Of course, there's also group content in the game, like either in dungeons or there are like elite mob camps at certain areas. You can't fight them alone. They are pretty tough. Let's say if you're level 15 and you run into a elite mob camp being level 7, they still kick your ass. So I love this, because this really means that if you have a group, the group as a whole is still challenged. Of course, there's also raid content in the adventure zones and Cyrodiil. I mean, we are talking about 3 factions at war, and you are, as a player, part of the army of that faction. The players will have to organize, so of course there will be raid groups, and most likely several raid groups in one TeamSpeak, and so yeah, of course there is also raid content. But the game does not look like Skyrim, so is it any good? When it comes to multiplayer online games, you shouldn't value visuals over game mechanics or performance. I would be pretty worried if the Elder Scrolls Online would look like Skyrim right now, because the Elder Scrolls Online basically made the promise of having a few hundred players rendering simultaneously in the same area on the screen. With really high graphics, I would doubt that they could uphold that promise. So I'm really glad it looks like how it looks now, because for me, in comparison to the last real MMO I played besides the cartoony stuff, this looks really good. So will this game be better than, for example, World of Warcraft? I can't answer that for you, because I don't know what your taste is regarding video games. If you are really looking forward to doing your daily quests and your quote endgame quote raiding, then maybe you should stick to what you like. But if you are just playing an MMO because you don't know any alternatives and your friends are playing there, then maybe you should listen up now. Let's have a look at some details, shall we? Through which interface do you think you see more of the world? This one or that one? Actually, people got so used to this kind of raid interfaces that I believe Cinemax Online Studios did a pretty brave and bold move with their new and clean interface. The question is, what is better? And Cinemax Online Studios argued that they wanted to create immersion, like they want you to be in the game, they want you to see the game. So the whole UI thing, that is more in the way than actually helping the player grasping the story. Regarding immersion, the next thing that separates ESO from other MMOs I know is the questing system. In good old Elder Scrolls manner, the quests really soak you in. There are no bring 10 wolf pelts to the NPC around the next corner quests. I mean, at least I didn't encounter any of them. It's more like the NPCs really share some problem they have with you, and you are the one who is able to help them out. And Well, if you care about what they have to tell you at all. Otherwise, you would really miss a big part of the fun, because the quests are made with real love and care. When it comes to multiplayer online games, the most important thing to keep people playing is the endgame. Let's compare the endgame from Elder Scrolls Online to other MMOs which were released in the last decade, I'd say. So most of the MMOs released in the last 10 years were about like World of Warcraft or its clones, with scripted events as raid encounter endgames. Now, who loves this stuff? Okay, your thing. But whoever thinks about, well, actually I find this kind of boring, just being raiding to get new items to keep raiding. And if you are looking more for the competitive thing of actually measuring your strengths with other players, then maybe PvP might have a big appeal to you. Now, PvP in the Elder Scrolls Online is purely epic. There are sieges, real sieges with ballistas, trebuchets, battering rams, boiling oil, castles, keeps, bridges, choke points all over the map. Actually, imagine Cyrodiil as a big war zone where 3 alliances battle it out. If you love such stuff, I bet you find a lot of videos covering Elder Scrolls Online PvP. If not, I'll release some as soon as the game is out and I leveled up. This is the real fun, because basically there are 6 items in the entire zone, the so-called Elder Scrolls. Each faction per default holds 2 of them, and if you capture those for your faction, steal them from the other faction by force, you are actually gaining benefits like stronger attacks and such, just by a little margin, but for everybody who is playing in that campaign. And you even take them out into the PvE environment. So there is a reason why you want to fight, why you want to at least have your scrolls back home. There is this constant war going on, and you easily develop some form of pride for what your faction has accomplished. Of course, there also will be this raiding content, which we know from other MMOs which were released in recent years. But for people like me, which kind of know Dark Age of Camelot, ESO is Dark Age of Camelot but with a big upgrade. And they are avoiding a lot of pitfalls Dark Age of Camelot had. Another thing everybody who is playing MMOs might be concerned about is the class balance, especially in a game that is pretty focused on the PvP aspect. Classes in ESO do not define your character in a sense of restricting you to some certain abilities. It's more like the game is all centered around skill lines, and when picking a class you gain 3 distinctive ones, but you also gain skill lines from armor you wear. Each armor type has its own. From the weapon you wield, each weapon has its own. From maybe some guilds you are a member of which are in the game, your race, like other traits like becoming vampires or werewolves, stuff like that. So as a player, the classing is more like a set of abilities which, of course they all go in some certain way, but every class, for example, has a gap closer. Every class, for example, has some crowd control abilities. This way they kind of get around big balancing issues, because everybody kind of has the same access to their abilities. Not saying everybody's going to be the same. The class skills still define you in a certain way, but when it comes down to has an ability to snare someone, basically every class has at least one of them, or it's just differently organized, different side effects. This keeping people on equal ground also is really cool in PvP, because if you're a casual player and you just entered, there is no rewarding system in the game for the people who spend more time in it. So you won't be in a disadvantage, and it's just really fair. Another thing I really think they do really, really well is the crafting system, because not only it is one of the most beautiful I saw, it also comes along with the promise that the items crafted by players will stay the best in the game, which just makes the whole crafting meaningful, and I really love that. So is it perfect then? Of course not. There is no perfect game out there. But let's put it this way. Maybe if you played other MMOs, you kind of have these things which kind of always itch you every time you come across them. Be it balance issues, be it stuff like, yeah, well, cool, I learned crafting, but the best stuff drops in rates. Stuff like that. Like if I compare all my experiences and then compare these to ESO, it's like the game was developed by people who also feel that and avoided lots of these possible pitfalls. And that's not saying that the game is in a perfect state yet. I mean, I was still playing a beta, or that the game is the absolute killer game for, I don't know, let's say World of Warcraft because it's the biggest, right? Not saying that, but the game definitely has a lot of potential, and a lot of conceptual errors which were made in other games are not present in here. They just managed to avoid a lot of things which annoyed me in other MMOs in a really clever way. The game has its issues, like for example you could make a low-level character in a different faction and then granting your guild access to like the scrolls of that faction more easily, which is something they really have to look into it. But recently, or through the beta, it showed that the developers also were really listening. I mean, they implemented first-person view because a lot of the Elder Scrolls fans demanded it. They implemented collision detection to make fights against NPCs feeling more forceful or having more impact. This really adds a lot to the gameplay, and I am certain that they will fix all that stuff that's going to come up. Now, one thing that bothers a lot of people is that the game is coming with a $15 or €13 subscription fee. I can't tell you that the game is worth that money because I didn't play it that much. What I just decided to do, just because I'm interested in it, I just decided to get the box, play the game, play the first 3 months, and decide afterwards if I'm going to subscribe or not. A lot of people wish this game to become free to play. Actually, I prefer the subscription fee model because with free-to-play games, the developers are more thinking about how to add more pair shops into the game. And my experience with subscription-based models are developers are thinking more about what cool content they could put into the game. So I prefer the subscription model because what I saw in the game, I think it deserves getting developed further with that level of quality the developer put into the game already. Okay, so we are 12 minutes in, so I hope I could help you decide whether you should check the game out or not, just based on the information I was able to provide here and doing my comparisons to other games I know. I'm excited because it's just 1.5 weeks away. So this brings us to the end. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like if you liked it, and see you next time. Bye guys.